Hello everybody, this is VidHead85 and this is Real Newsblast Episode 5, Rewrites, Child Brides, and Walkout. So remember when the tax scam was passed so hastily? It's infamous for the handwritten changes made hours before it was to be passed, and it got rid of the state and local tax deduction, or SALT, better known as SALT, which disproportionately hurt higher tax / blue states. It also got rid of the deductions for teachers and teaching supplies. It also had gotten rid of moving from one state to another, moving expenses. You couldn't deduct that. And then it also had an S corporation provision in there, like a pass-through, which allowed people to save even more money. Now, the Koch brothers were really pleased with Paul Ryan, so they gave him $500,000 for his campaign. But now we're seeing headlines that the bill may need to be rewritten. The Fiscal Times reports on two specific areas that will have to be fixed in the legislation. One of them is called the grain glitch. The legislation allows farmers to deduct 20% of their total sales to cooperatives. This allows farmers to deeply reduce their tax bills, but it has caused an uproar among independent agriculture businesses, saying that they can no longer compete with cooperatives since farmers would just choose to sell to cooperatives to take advantage of the more generous tax break. Independent grain companies have also lobbied Congress for a fix, warning that the provision could make it impossible for their businesses to compete with co-ops. Restaurants have also raised an objection about the bill because a drafting error requires businesses to making renovations on property improvements to depreciate those investments over 39 years instead of the intended 15 years. It is understood that that was a honest mistake, but hopefully they're hopeful that bipartisan intent behind the law could restore that 15-year period. Now, some of those changes could be done through the U.S. Treasury, but the bulk of changes must be made through Congress. When Republicans passed this through reconciliation, they only needed 51 votes, and you can only do that once per session, I believe. So they would need to have Democratic support, and if Democrats don't give up their leverage, they could reverse some of the things that made the GOP tax scam so insidious. Also, let's remember that if Democrats I'm hoping that they don't cave, because I definitely want to see the SALT deduction, the moving deduction, and the teacher deduction restored. That is my hope, but it is not very high. So let's go to Kentucky and Tennessee. Now, in Kentucky, efforts to ban child marriages had been stalled for a while. The conservative group Family Foundation of Kentucky had been behind the delay, which would prohibit the marriage of a 17-year-old unless a judge certifies it. Right now, 16 and 17-year-olds can marry with their parents' approval, and even younger if a pregnancy is involved. Now remember, this was legal in 2004 when Kentucky passed a constitutional prohibition on the gays getting married. A spokeswoman for the organization said that she supports the bill overall, but wants to mandate that parents agree before it can go to a judge. Since then, the Kentucky State Senate has passed a bill 34-3 with that concern addressed. It now heads to the Kentucky House. The Tennessee bill was killed, but later revived, according to the Tennessean. State Representative Darren Jernigan has called for the law to reflect a change that would make the effective age of marriage to 18. State Senator Yarborough had found a loophole that allowed a judge to grant marriage regardless of age. The bill was sent for summer study, which effectively kills the bill. However, Majority Leader Cascada later said that he didn't want the bill to pass because it would interfere with a legal challenge to undo Obergefell. Now, he did bring it back to the floor for discussion because he reports being shocked that girls as young as 12 could be forcibly married to an older man, and because they're minors, they cannot find a way. It would be nearly impossible for them to undo those marriages. The Tennessee Department of Health said that in 2016, there were 42 grooms and 166 brides who were under the age of 18 at the time of marriage. Discussion can begin on it, and I will see if it has been passed through the House, but I'm not sure of what will happen to it in the Tennessee State Senate. Moving on to the walkout portion. On the 1-month anniversary of the Parkland shooting, students took to the streets for 17 minutes to protest the lack of action on the part of legislators, or Congress rather. Background checks, banning of bump stocks, and of most assault-style weapons were part of the demands. From one part of the country to the other, many students took to the streets. Some school districts threatened suspension, and some students found a way to work around it by taking a knee for 17 minutes in solidarity. So the next time someone tells you that young people are apathetic, you show them a news clip of the walkout or pictures of all these students walking out for safer schools and an end to gun violence. I'm drawing on the side of the students because thoughts and prayers are useless. I mean, I later saw a tweet about a bill filed by a Republican Congress member or Senator Jack Kennedy, who filed a bill within 48 hours of hearing about an animal or a pup dying because he was in an overhead crate. It was TSA approved. So a pup gets your attention, dying in a crate that was TSA approved in an overhead hanger, but you don't have a bill to remedy the deaths of 17 children, but you'll arm teachers. And that doesn't even work, because we've heard about at least 10 instances of teachers discharging their firearms during class. So the hypocrisy is alarming on this one. So thank you for joining me for episode 5 of the Real Newsblast with VidHead85. I will show you a few of my favorite news tubers that I listen to for real news. Subscribe and click the bell so that you will know when they upload a video. They are awesome. I will also let you know that, or again, like I said, click the bell, because I say that because YouTube has been unsubscribing people to independent news. They want to steer you towards CNN and MSNBC. So if you like what you support or like what you see there, please support them on Patreon. I am sure that they will appreciate it. So episode 6 will be on the way soon. It's called PA-18, Deregulation and Assassination. See you soon.